Smith.
Got it.
All right. Good evening. My name is Jeff Smith. I'm Vice Chairperson of the Webster Groves Plan Commission. We are a 9-member board of citizens appointed by the City Council to review development proposals and make recommendations to the City Council regarding future development of the city. In addition to the members of the Plan Commission participating at City Hall or via teleconference, we have a few other representatives of the city I would like to introduce. Councilmember Bliss, welcome. City Attorney Neil Bruntrager by video, Planning and Development Director Mara Perry, Planner Danny Genjusa, and Denise Boleski, our recording secretary. I would like to welcome you all to tonight's special meeting of the Plan Commission and take this opportunity to explain how we will operate. We will vary from our standard procedures. As indicated in our agenda, this special meeting will be dedicated to receiving public comment regarding the request for a change of zoning for the Douglas Hill redevelopment proposal. The order of speakers will begin with individuals who have pre-registered on the city website ahead of time to speak, followed by those attending at City Hall who have filled out a speaker's card, then those attending on Zoom who click the raise your hand feature to request to speak, and finally, written comments that city staff received prior to the meeting to be read aloud into the record. In order to allow all members of the public an equal opportunity to present their views to the Plan Commission and be heard, any individuals in the public who have previously had comments read into the record or spoken on this matter at a prior Plan Commission meeting will not have additional written comments read into the record or have the opportunity to present their views again this evening. These individuals may still submit additional written comments through the designated form on the city website or via email to the address planning@webstergroves.org. Any written comments to the city receives will be forwarded to the Plan Commission members before the regular September 13th meeting, but those additional comments will not be read aloud during the meeting. Anyone with an interest in the proposal who has not already presented their views to the Plan Commission may indicate to city staff they have a question or would like to express their opinion by clicking on the raise hand feature on Zoom. To make sure that we have accurately record your name, we ask that you identify your full name and address at the beginning of your comment. When you make your comments, we ask that you be as concise as possible and not repeat a point made by a previous speaker. We also ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. One person who is a spokesperson for an organization may have 6 minutes to comment. After all citizens have spoken, the commission may discuss the proposal and any questions that have been raised during the hearing. The commission will not be voting on the application this evening, and the hearing will be continued to the regular September 13th meeting of the Plan Commission. Should you need additional information regarding the progress of the application, you may contact staff at City Hall. I would ask that the secretary read the first item on the agenda for tonight's special meeting.
21 PC04 Douglas Hill, an application by SG Collaborative LLC for a change of zoning from A4 7,500 square foot residence district, B1 multiple family district, E industrial district, and PC planned commercial district to PC planned commercial district on approximately 15.1 acre tract of land located at the following addresses: 15 Lincoln Avenue, 62 Lincoln Avenue, 49 North Gore Avenue, 51 North Gore Avenue, 61 North Gore Avenue, 65 North Gore Avenue, 69 North Gore Avenue, 79 North Gore Avenue, 40 North Rock Hill Road, 200 Sherman Place, 201 Sherman Place, 203 Sherman Place, 205 Sherman Place, 207 Sherman Place, 200 West Kirkham Avenue, 204 West Kirkham Avenue, 234 West Kirkham Avenue, 240 West Kirkham Avenue, 242 West Kirkham Avenue, 320 West Kirkham Avenue, 340 West Kirkham Avenue, 107 West Pacific Avenue, 109 West Pacific Avenue, 111 West Pacific Avenue, 115 West Pacific Avenue, 125 West Pacific Avenue, 147 West Pacific Avenue, 207 West Pacific Avenue, 209 West Pacific Avenue, 211 West Pacific Avenue, 227 West Pacific Avenue, 315 West Pacific Avenue, 325 West Pacific Avenue, 341 West Pacific Avenue.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, at this point, we will accept comment.
So we
Yeah, starting here.
had no one pre-register to talk via Zoom, so you can go straight to pre-register to talk here.
Okay. All right, and I ask that when you come up, please restate your name in case I mispronounce it and give us your address. First speaker is Diane Massey Perry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Diane Massey Perry. This is my hometown. I was born in Clayton, and raised here in Webster Groves. A gentleman named Chapman came to my church to tell us about Douglas Hill. I'm insulted, because what he wants to do is nowhere near where Douglas School was at. And I think it should be, if something's gonna be changed toward the betterment for the Black community and for Webster, we all should be involved, not just one person. My grandparents built our house here in 1922. When I lived in Webster, it was filthy rich. These people had butlers, chauffeurs, and maids. Now you have a different type of white here in Webster. When you move on my side of the track, off across Kirkham to the Black neighborhood, you ain't got no money. You're just like us. And you shouldn't come to the neighborhood thinking you're better than us. I'm a little upset that now you're doing something with Ivory Crockett Park. Why is it being rehabbed now when the Black people aren't there? You have mostly white folks over in the Black neighborhood. You don't have Black families. And it's sorry why Black families aren't there. It's just sorry why they're not there, but we still own our property. I asked the gentleman, he wanted to build another park at Gore and Kirkham, right up in there near Red Lamar, that little section. I said, well, what's wrong with the park at Elm and Kirkham? We don't say Kirkham anymore, we say Brentwood, right? Oh, that's not gonna be. I said, you're prejudiced. You're showing a divisive attitude. And then you wanna come and do something with Old Community. Old Community started 5 churches in this area. 5 churches. So this is my home as well as you all's. We maybe didn't have as much money as you did, but this is my home too. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Next speaker, Elizabeth Kreckler. And please provide your address.
When you introduce yourself, could you state
Sure.
your address?
My name is Elizabeth Kreckler. I'm a resident of North Webster on Rock Hill Road and Foot. My statement is Webster Groves is under threat from developers. One of the last groves of Webster Groves is under threat from developers. The grove, a green canopy of trees on the banks of the Shady Creek, runs along Kirkham in North Webster. SG Collaborative, the land planning developers hired by the city of Webster Groves, has proposed a high-density project called Douglas Hill for the region. It includes, as of last time I looked, 7 apartment buildings up to 10 stories in height, numerous commercial stores, and they're even projecting perhaps a hotel among its structures. One One estimate translates that this might be some 3,000 new residents and 2,000 cars. The cars already back up on Rock Hill right by my house, 20 deep sometimes. In addition, SGC has promised to respect the history of the neighborhood and to seek input from the community on its wants and needs. And the community has spoken, but the developers are not listening. Webster Groves residents have identified Shady Creek as their #1 concern. They're asking that the Shady Creek section of land marked for development stay as a wilderness, a habitat for wildlife, for the birds, some endangered, and creatures who live in the neighborhood. Websterites are especially fond of the owls that live in the tall trees along there. It's delightful to wake up and hear them. Although only a fragile ecosystem, Shady Creek functions as much more than its small size suggests. It is an important link
10 seconds, Ms.
in the
Kreckler.
larger water network, the greater Deer Creek Basin. Upstream from it is the Webster Groves,
Ms.
Shady Creek.
Kreckler, please wrap it up.
What?
Your time's up.
I haven't got to
sorry.
the main point yet.
I'm sorry.
You can submit it though. You could submit it.
Submit it in writing. It'll
You know,
get
since
sorted.
you have it written out,
I
just
will.
email it and then we'll have it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Peter Frayne.
Hi, my name is Peter Frayne. I'm a lifelong resident of Webster Groves, having lived in 5 different houses and neighborhoods over my 57 years. My wife Susan and I have raised our 3 daughters here and have always prided ourselves as being part of this great community. I also own a building at 51 North Gore Avenue, which houses my business, Olympic Marine Company, and Never Enough, a women's clothing boutique. So as you can see, I wear 2 hats here. One is a resident and one is the owner of a building and a business. Before I start, I want to make it clear that I am not an anti-development person. Rather, I would support development that I think is in keeping with what makes Webster the community that we all decided to move to, and one that also respects our current neighbors and owners. Wearing my resident hat, I have to say that I'm concerned about the density and height of the proposed development. As someone who is in downtown Webster daily, I truly can't imagine how a traffic study would support a development with this kind of density. I question whether the traffic study considered the impact of the many trains that move through this area every day. Already, I think all of us know how much traffic gets backed up when we do have trains. So I think 700 new apartments would be pretty extreme. As for my building, I bought it in 2005 and rebuilt the entire building. It's essentially a completely new building behind the original walls. I did all this with my own money, did not ask anything from the city in terms of tax incentives. I truly feel that what I've done with my part of downtown Webster makes it a better place. And while I certainly might be open to selling my building, it would have to be at a price that works for me, not something that would be dictated to me by a developer or a judge. That being said, if the city council does choose to move forward with this development, I ask you to commit to not using eminent domain as a way to take our properties. It's one thing if a property is taken for a public use, like a fire station, school, or some other kind of publicly owned facility. But in this case, it would be taking my property and giving it to another private developer, all for the benefit of a private company. I really don't think that's who our community is. One last thing, it's my understanding that some of the consultants involved in this project have emphasized the supposed fact that there's been no improvements made in this area for 30 years. As shown by what I've done with my own property and what a lot of my neighbors have done. I think that's simply not true. I've also heard that some of the consultants may have said to city staff and council members and plan commission members that all or most of the neighbors are open to selling their properties. In discussions with people around me, that's simply not true. So thank you again for listening to my concerns. Again, I'm a proud lifelong resident of Webster Groves. I hope that the Plan Commission and City Council will carefully consider the wishes of its residents and work to ensure that we pursue responsible development that respects what makes our community great. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Janet Noble.
Good evening. This project is personal for me. I live right up the street on 333 North Gore. Right now, today, I can't get out of my driveway between 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning with the degree of traffic that is there now. Buses line up, people taking their kids up to Steger School line up. This summer, or I should say last spring and this fall already, parents picking their kids up from school line up on Gore because they don't want their kids to walk all the way home. So they line up close to our street because they can't line up on Rock Hill to pick up their kids after school. I can only imagine what this is going to be if this project goes through. If people can't get to their driveway, they're going to move. So this project is going to change Northwest Webster like everything. It's never going to be the same. So besides my personal livelihood in this spot, the other major reason that I am against this project is because of climate change. One of the details that has not been brought up in any of the letters that I have read in the Webster Kirkwood Times or by listening to the meetings is the CO2 or carbon dioxide emissions that will be released by the making of concrete for these buildings. I'm going to read a couple of details about carbon dioxide in case you all do not know. Many of you probably already do know. Carbon dioxide and methane are the two greenhouse gas most responsible for global warming. Webster Groves finally has a chance to not participate in global warming. The carbon dioxide emissions from the production of concrete are so high that if concrete were a country, it would be the third largest emitter of CO2 behind China and the United States. Concrete is the most widely used artificial material in existence. So I want that to be noted in the record. And that's another reason why I am against this project. If this project goes on, the people in Northwest Webster will be exposed to this for at least 5 years. So please consider that when you vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker card is David Yates.
Hello, I'm David Yates. I'm at 477 Oak Street, just west of the property. Many of the points I want to raise tonight have already been discussed, so I won't try to repeat it. But wanted to talk about the greenway and the floodplain at the bottom of the project site and the rain event that happened just 2 days ago, where there's a foot of water running past the Baptist church, and don't know how at all this could ever be developed without it remaining a floodplain. It's going to be there forever. It happens. It's a creek. It floods, and to see SG Collaborative think they can solve that, and also at the same time ram a TIF commission through, but before it becomes outlawed in the state of Missouri, January 1st, is ridiculous. I don't see how that could be feasible or allowed, because it's being made illegal at the beginning of the year for good reason, because they want to develop that. I'm not anti-development. I'm an architect. I mean, I love development. It's great and it keeps me employed. It's just, the density and the height and what they want to do is way over. the city council just last week or 2 weeks ago passed a resolution limiting the height and density of commercial properties in Webster Groves. And it seems like this is going to ignore that and make it bigger and denser than what is allowed by just a brand new current law that's been put in place. So anyway, that's the points I want to make, and thank you for the time, and thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to let the chairperson know. So we have a gentleman here today. He already sent in his written comments and it was already pre-recorded in the recording for the full 3 minutes. So you have to make a determination on what you want to do. We've been trying to be, again, consistent. He is here, but we have pre-recorded his comments, which he did already send in ahead of time, and we recorded, and it will be in the recording that you'll be hearing in a little bit.
And is that time 3 minutes?
It was
More or
It was
less?
relatively close. I mean, it was one of the longer ones, but if he's already here and you would like to give him, we could put a timer on if you wanted to.
Sure.
Do you, how much time would
Let's
you like?
give him a minute.
I didn't know the rules, otherwise I would have thought about it differently, but I'm here.
Name?
My name is Michael Chakudian. My family's been in Webster going on 40 years, something like that. My kids all bought houses here, so we're all here. We love it. I just wanted to point out, and I did this in my letter, that the traffic, without not talking about any other issues, the density, the height of the buildings and all these other things, the traffic is already getting to be a nightmare in Webster Groves with the recent developments of the restaurants along Lockwood Boulevard. On Saturdays, it's hard to get in and out of it. On the weekends, people aren't doing that. The school being right there, of course, everybody knows it backs up all over the place, and it's hard to, I have to literally go around the block. So the influx of the people that might live in this development is going to be hard to deal with in many respects. One of the things that these developers did is use the highest threshold available in St. Louis County traffic study.
Would you like to take your 3 minutes now and just talk here? We can skip your comment later.
His comment
You
letter,
can't.
it's it's already, I mean, I can stop it and try to stop it with pre-recording, but everything that he's stating was, we're reading it.
Okay.
Yeah, we
I mean,
were
I
reading
just-
your full comments.
So all I'm saying to you is this, I'll cut it short. You can't make the traffic study based on the highest threshold of Baldwin, Chesterfield, and De Peres, and compare that to, we all have big thoroughfares, Manchester Road, Clarkson Road, all
So
getting around.
your comments will be read, and you stated that in your comments. It will be
Okay, I
read.
just want to, I'm going to stay face to face too. That's all I'm saying.
Well, sir,
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
We can't use that threshold for a threshold here.
I'm a civil engineer.
This thing should be done after we vote as a community on our own threshold of traffic allowance. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to ask if there's anyone else here who has not yet filled out a speaker's
Sure.
card?
You just got one in?
Oh, that was his card.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone else here who has not spoken yet that would like to take the opportunity? All right,
So I've got one hand up on Zoom. I'll go to that one. So I'll start with, I believe it's Ms. Block. If you want to start, we'll start the timer for your 3 minutes if you want to make sure you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Janine Block, and I serve as the Executive Director for the St. Louis Gym Center, which is located at 315 West Pacific, which is within the redevelopment area. We are a not-for-profit 501c3 organization and the oldest private gymnastics club in St. Louis. Our economic and jobs footprint for this area, the employment of about 60 workers year-round, and oftentimes more with seasonal employees who work with our kids during summer months and winter break. We are proud of our workforce and the economic impact we have on our community, but our primary focus is on our kids. We serve over 1,000 kids every week. They love our gymnastics center, and so do their parents. For many children, this is their beloved home away from home. We have from preschool and recreational classes to competitive teams. We have a wide selection of offerings for all ages and all skill levels. We have awarded scholarships for kids with financial needs so they can continue training and competing, many of which have the goal of receiving college education through an athletic scholarship. We work with kids with physical disabilities to improve their muscle fitness, motor performance, physical self-perception. Our programs have been life-changing for these kids. We have also in the past partnered with groups such as St. Louis Children's Hospital and Easter Seals to help fulfill their missions to help kids and adults with disabilities through movement education. In addition to movement education, we teach our kids about the importance of supporting charitable and civic programs in the community. For us, investing in our kids' success includes making significant investments in the gym center itself. Some have characterized the area, including our gym center, as blighted. If you've toured our gym center, seen pictures of it, or even driven by it, we do not believe anyone could credibly describe it that way. In fact, we have made recent investments of over $175,000 into our 21,000 square foot training facility. This includes a new $82,000 HVAC system and a $70,000 expansion that has increased our square footage, among other improvements to our building as well. Taking this property from us would seriously jeopardize the continuation of our gym center and its benefits to our community. It took decades to find the facility we have, and it is very unlikely and to find an affordable, functional alternative in this vicinity. We hope the commission and the council will consider the programs the St. Louis Gym Center has been delivering to our community for nearly 50 years. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Janine. Anyone else on?
Yeah, hold on just a second. Caroline Fran, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, thank you. I am a resident of Webster Groves. I do not believe in the proposed redevelopment area. I actually just found out about this via a news alert in my Google, and I thought I would come and listen to what folks have to say. I am pro smart development. I think, developments like Cortex have been fantastic for St. Louis, for our entrepreneurial and startup community. I guess what I want to find out more about and what I am concerned about is, building a TIF in a floodplain. I know that in Maryland Heights, they decided, the TIF Commission decided against that, which I think was smart, right? You don't want to build up in an area that's going to flood. And I have to, again, look at the proposed, redevelopment area map and match that up to, I remember seeing the video from yesterday, I think it was, with the cars on a road that was basically a river. And if that's part of that area, I'd be very concerned about any liability that the village or town of Webster Groves and that the taxpayers may incur by, building up in a potential floodplain. That's all. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank all of you for being there and for accepting comments via Zoom, where we're allowed to speak to you directly. I know that's something that County Council currently is not doing, and I don't really understand why, because it's easily doable. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to ask if anyone else does want to speak?
Sure. Is there anyone else joining by Zoom who would like to speak? Please hit the raise your hand feature.
Not seeing any.
Just
Yeah,
fill out a
just
card.
fill out a card.
tell me your name, sir?
Yeah, Donald Bell, 46 South Rock Hill Road.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Don Bell. I live at 46 South Rock Hill Road, which is 4 houses up from Lockwood, immediately above where this SG Collaborative Douglas Hill proposal is gaining steam to be authorized for building. I share in everybody else's concerns in the immediate area about traffic density. It was interesting to me how SG Collaborative, when the traffic density concerns were properly raised by the citizens, that SG Collaborative all of a sudden tried to address that grievance by saying, we'll just make the street one way. I don't think that makes sense. Traffic density is a huge problem in the immediate area now, and it will be made much worse by this SG Collaborative Douglas Hill plan. But what I sense is that, and this is not a criticism of the city governing process, but I just sense the citizens of Webster Groves are largely unaware of how this is proceeding and the impact this would have on Webster Groves. And again, this is not a criticism of you folks or the other administrative entities of Webster Grove, but I would just request that some thought be given to some type of mechanism by which, I don't want to say the voters, but maybe the citizens of Webster Groves can be encouraged to voice their opinions, pro or con, on this other than these administrative meetings. If we have a large population in Webster Groves, I just sense that large population of Webster Groves is not involved in this process. And I wish Webster Groves would figure out some mechanism by which the citizens of Webster Groves could make their input known on a much larger scale than it's being done right now. Because I'm quite confident if the Webster Groves population were able to express their opinion, this SG Collaborative Douglas Hill project would be voted down. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your concern.
Thank you. We have anybody pop up?
No one else,
Online?
no else has popped up online, so we could start the recording that we pre-recorded of the all the comments that came in.
Charlie, Annie, Mike, you guys have any reservations about that?
How much do you have, Mara?
Danny and I think it took us about an hour to record it today. So somewhere between about 40 and 50 minutes.
Have at it.
Okay, I'm gonna get it started.
Okay.
This comment was received on June 8th, 2021 from Adam Berkowitz at 69 North Gore. My name is Adam Berkowitz. I'm a business owner at 69 North Gore and also a resident and homeowner at 333 Cannonberry Drive in Webster Groves. Our firm has been a tenant at 69 North Gore for 4 years, and our business turns 5 years old this fall. As a resident and business owner, it is critical that I ask the following baseline questions. Who is responsible for financing the cost of relocation, cost of rebranding, and compensation for the investment we've made over the years to our current location on North Gore? A significant capital investment that we made following the flood from the 2020 water main burst that flooded our office for 5 hours. I'm concerned about the culture we've built around our team having a business in downtown Webster where we can walk to restaurants, coffee shops, and grocery stores. We chose this location with intent. Small businesses are the core lifeblood of Webster Groves, and it feels reckless to move these small businesses out with no relocation plan in place for current businesses. Furthermore, I've received zero direct communication from the SG developers or the city of Webster. Founder and President, Simpara HR. This comment was received on June 9th, 2021 from Alice Warchman Sample, 31 Hamel. Is there a plan to complete the sidewalks from the Douglas Hill development to Larson Park on both sides? The increase in both foot and car traffic from the development to the park seems inevitable and incredibly dangerous if children are dashing across Kirkham as the sidewalk cuts in and out between Rock Hill and Denver Place, the street that leads to the playground parking lot. Cars speed madly along the stretch of Kirkham and visibility is limited with the curve. Additionally, with increased car traffic, there will need to be a stop sign at Denver Place, both for park visitors and for residents of the streets by Larson Park. I tend to favor this project. The current Douglas Hill space is underutilized and unattractive despite technically being a green space. Developing the area has the potential to add so much value to the Webster community: a music amphitheater, retail space, a farmer's market, a walking path along the creek, etc. I'm optimistic there will be compromise from the current awful plan. My main concern is how to deal with resulting increased traffic flow along Kirkham. There needs to be a sidewalk that extends on both sides of Kirkham to Glendale, and for safety, there needs to be a stop sign and crosswalk across Kirkham at Larson Park. Thanks.
This comment is from Dan Dixon, was received on June 9th. Dan Dixon at 737 Yale. I moved to Webster Groves because it has a small town charm close to the city. On Friday and Saturday nights, I can easily access Old Webster, unlike downtown Kirkland. This development is just too big. It will rob Webster of its small town charm. It just makes it another Brentwood or Kirkwood. People don't live here and pay the taxes they do with the hopes that major development will come in. They live here to have some semblance of small town life close to a major city. I stand with my neighbors and do not support development. This next comment was received on June 10th from Joan McGinnis at 657 Clark. It is not easy to identify how the project will look from looking at a model you cannot see from the other side. Lockwood Avenue is not even marked, so hard to get the full idea here. Can it be put outside with a cover over it so people can look at it all around and discuss? Maybe it could be pulled out in City Hall on Saturdays so you can get around, or it would be nice if someone was available to discuss it wherever it is. Next comment was received on June 10th from Ryan Colombo at 444 West Swan. I would just like to say, as a longtime resident of Webster Groves and having raised our kids here, my wife and I are in complete approval of the SG redevelopment plan. We look forward to seeing more progress being made in our community. This is a welcome development for my family and will give us more walkable options considering the development is within several blocks of our home. Can't wait to see the finished product. Next email was received on June 11th from Jane All. Regarding the SG collaborative plan for Kirkham Road, I am all for and believe wholeheartedly that that development is needed in Webster Groves. With that being said, this is just too big. 7 stories from the front is a mess. 5 front and 3 back, and I bet there would be more support. I am not for the current plan on display at City Hall.
This next email was received on June 17th from Robert Strichoba, 505 South Crescent in Kirkwood. I think the SG Collaborative Douglas Hill will provide a greater diversity of residential opportunities. Webster has another St. Louis County community with such a model, and that is Clayton. Clayton, like Webster Groves, has beautiful homes, but one additional piece: high-rise residences. Clayton is a highly desirable community. Why not follow the lead of a successful community like Clayton and add to our residential mix with Douglas Hill? Also, there's much talk about the possible environmental impact to Shady Creek. As an ecologist, Shady Creek is a storm water drain that floods during heavy rains and is dry in the summer. Anything SG does will improve it. This email was received on June 17th, 2021 from Jean Brockland at 55 Wilshire Terrace. I strongly support SG Collaborative's Douglas Hill proposal as it currently exists. The area is currently extremely underutilized. The Old Webster area needs high density in order to thrive.
The area cries out for the type of development proposal, and downsizing it would result in a half measure that will cause the project, and we as a community, to not reach its potential. It's far past time that we as a city embrace some change. It's the only way we will reach our potential. Go for it, people. The next email was received on June 30th, 2021 from Matthew Heil, 919 Greeley Avenue. This sort of higher density housing within walking distance of needed services would be a good bet for the future of the community. As a 68-year-old resident, moving to such a location would keep me in the area and allow me to live comfortably without needing 2 cars. While I see the issue with rainwater, the increase in housing density would have a positive environmental impact.
Next comment was received on July 10th from Adam Imolek at 1163 Kirkham Avenue. As a Kirkham Avenue resident, I believe this development will change the neighborhood from residential to commercial, disrupting the community we now have. The property values along, I believe it's Kirkham, will also diminish. Finally, the buildings are out of scale, too tall for this neighborhood. Next comment was received on July 21st from Emmanuel Rouen on 715 Fairview Avenue. Will there be a vote about this project, please? Next comment was received on August 6th from Donna Priest-Sade at 744 Fairview. It says, a lot of eggs to put in one basket. What happens if SG Collaborative goes bankrupt midway through this enormous project? Is Webster left with an unusable eyesore for years to come? Comment continued on August 9th. The most common trajectory for large multifamily development projects is that once completed, they are sold to a commercial real estate investment firm. This is a huge piece of our town to put in the hands of one private investment group. Yes, SG Collective is owned by 2 Webster developers. Will they retain ownership, be good landlords, and be responsive to the wishes of the community? Or once the project is completed, will they sell the property to an investment group, likely from out of state, with no stake or concern for Webster beyond profit? I'm looking 10 years down the road and I don't like what I see. I'm opposed to this project.
The next comment was received on August 6th from Stephen Musial. Hello, I'm writing to ask you to put off any decisions on the development until you have all of the relevant and correct information. The renderings that SG Development was showing at the meetings were obviously wrong. They showed 3-story buildings where 7-story buildings should be. The traffic study includes the cutoff from Kirkham onto Gore, which SG would like turned over to them. Those numbers all need to be recalculated. There has been no discussion, drawings, renderings, etc., of how the development will look from the north side, i.e. Kirkham. I've attached a building mass study that was developed from the documents submitted by SG. At the meeting where this development was initially discussed, the first half of the meeting was spent explaining and possibly codifying exactly what PC zoning would consist of and how it should work. This development is asking for variances or ignoring almost every part of the code. The creek has been turned into a concrete walled drainage ditch, which will exacerbate flooding rather than relieving it. Additionally, though not under your purview, the TIF aspect needs to be looked at closely. The Webster Kirkwood Times wrote, City Attorney Neil Bruntrager said the city is under time restrictions as mandated by state law, so moving this forward is important. This is completely inaccurate. The city is under no such time restriction. Developer is because a law was recently passed that starting January 1st, TIF will not be allowed for developments in a floodplain. I know this is an important fact for the citizens to know and realize that the city is not being completely transparent. Stephen Musial.
Next comment was received on August 8th from May Jernigan. I'm writing to voice my opposition to the Douglas Hill redevelopment project. Namely, the first being that people claim it will have affordable housing options under 10% as stated by the developer. The developer's idea of affordable is over $50K per year, which frankly is not affordable for some of us during the current economic climate. My question would be, how small and dinky will these lowly apartments be? What is the price range for the rest of the living accommodations? $150K per year or more? I can only see this as being a repeat of the L apartments across from Webster Groves Library, which start at a staggering price of $1,200 for a studio apartment. We don't need another Clayton squished into downtown Webster Groves, and the affordability idea is laughable in my opinion. Besides my misgivings about the generous nature of these developers, it is also going to be costly for taxpayers moving forward. This is a flash flood zone, which has been historically documented to be dangerous during heavy rains. I even knew someone who almost drowned when a flash flood plowed over their car on Kirkham Road. Not only will the developers pave over the local wildlife corridor that exists, the plans indicate that the water will rush towards the historic church that the plans overshadow. Maybe the developers are hoping the church will flood and they'll tear it down. That seems to be my only insight on why they would build the concrete barriers that way. Also, how many times have we complained about flooding in Chesterfield Valley, shopping centers overdeveloped in one area known to be a floodplain? Thank you for reading. Please consider not lining your pockets with developer money. Webster Council members.
This comment was received on August 8th from Gregory Bryan, 413 Webster Forest. Please refrain from moving forward with this project. We have very little green space in Webster Groves. This project would severely damage the ecosystem, which many of us enjoy. Creatures large and small use this space as refuge. Further development of this space will tragically diminish the charm of Webster Groves. This next one was received on August 8th from Kathy Eckelkamp, 1614 South Rock Hill. This plan is a true eyesore for Webster Groves, who sold their soul to the devil, and it is allowing this in our picturesque community. No longer will it be considered small town USA, ugly town USA. I'm sure our neighbors that have to drive by this monstrosity will love having this in their backyard. And then how the volume of congestion of cars, etc., will affect the side streets where everyone is taking shortcuts around this extremely congested area. This project needs to be rejected. It is not good for Webster, just good for builders, etc. This next one was received on August 8th, 2021 from Christina Moorfield. I have been a resident of Webster Groves for almost 30 years. I believe that our city could use the addition of affordable housing, but I'm opposed to the Douglas Hill project due to the unnecessary size and scale of this project. There is no need to have housing that towers over other Webster buildings.
This next comment was received on August 8th from Marty Ward. As I understand it, Webster Groves did not ask SG Collaborative for the proposed redevelopment of Douglas Hill area. Then why are we being put through this never-ending arduous planning process of a monstrosity? It is large, it is ugly, too large, and eyesore, and continually misrepresented. Once it is built, how many lifetimes will it stand there before it proves to be the wrong choice? It took the city of St. Louis 50 to 60 years to rid the city of the eyesores and high maintenance of such buildings and replace them with townhouses. In addition, the council seems to have no respect for the neighbors on Kirkham concerning traffic and views of massive proportions. If this is about SG's profits, then they should step aside and let Webster Groves direct a project that is best for Webster with input from the community. A more pleasant housing solution would be neat townhouses of 2 or 3 stories, a welcome, attractive addition to Webster Groves, and not all of the trees would have to be destroyed. Perhaps the creek could be part of the landscape, keeping the nature look. After all, we are a tree city USA. The area is large enough for many townhouses that would not create overcrowding. If there were to be stores in this project, what would they sell? Webster is not a retail community. However, the manufacturers' representatives and others that are or were in the area must have brought in a sizable sum of revenue to Webster. Why not continue to have an office building for representatives, showrooms, and small businesses?
This comment was received on August 8th from Grady Norris. I've been a resident for many years in Webster Groves. When I had first moved here, I had fallen in love with the architecture of the surrounding homes and buildings, especially down Old Webster. The view looking up Gore from Kirkham is phenomenal. The wildlife that the Deer Creek supports is beautiful. Early mornings with no traffic, you can catch doe galloping across the intersection. Another great image is seeing the Old Glory flying high above this land, giving us a great sense of patriotism. I believe is if the SG Collaborative gets built, it would ruin a lot of things I had listed above for not only myself, but for many others who live in the area. The next comment was received on August 8th from Michael Chekorjian. To whom it may concern, please read my letter to the Planning and Zoning minutes for the session in August 2021. Going on 40 years, my family has resided in Webster Groves, and now 3 of my children have purchased homes in Webster near this proposed development. They, along with myself, are against this plan and consider it an outright attack on the way of life we are all accustomed to here in Webster. This proposal makes a mockery with respect to common sense and the integration of the so-called Douglas Hill property into the rest of Webster Groves. It does not take into consideration the true impact of in-place figures for traffic thresholds approved by the city of Webster Groves. Rather, the developers use the maximum thresholds approved for the entire St. Louis County area, which has a completely diverse demographic makeup and not comparable to Webster Groves, i.e. So to use that one would be an irrelevant for this specific project. Instead, we have fee-driven developers grabbing numbers to suit their purpose while telling us 7-story buildings are really 3-story buildings. This project needs to be put on hold indefinitely until the city of Webster Groves votes on and approves their own traffic threshold numbers that they would allow in their city. We cannot use numbers approved by St. Louis County. We have a special little city with special needs for traffic. We are not Baldwin. We are not unincorporated St. Louis County, et cetera, et cetera. To go further down this path will ultimately result in lawsuit asking a judge to stop this project based on the traffic threshold issue alone. There is so much that is wrong with this ill-conceived development. It reeks of push-through backroom politics. These developers do not have the type of proven track records that conservative, multi-generational developers do using their own money. They are relatively new to the game and mistakes are already showing up. We will be stuck with this. They will be long gone. The next one was received on August 8th, 2021 from Jim Cooper, 242 South Old Orchard. I strongly object to the current proposed redevelopment plan. It does not represent what Webster Groves is, a neighborhood. I appreciate the Plan Commission's efforts to improve our wonderful city, but this is not an improvement.
The next comment was received on August 8th from DL Ford. Dredging and rerouting of creek to build concrete walls will ruin the environment. Huge building towering stories above street lines will be an eyesore. The backsides of the buildings are ugly and appear to look like a wall to divide. Hopefully this development will not happen to our community. The next comment was received on August 8th from Arthur Hirsch. Dear council and planning members, I'm a longstanding resident of Webster Groves, over 40 years. First, let me say I am not against developing the area that Douglas Hill would occupy, but I'm seriously opposed to the proposed plan being put forward by SG Collaborative. In my opinion, this type of generic development would be, among other things, destroy the character and charm of downtown Webster. It would contribute to enormous traffic and parking problems in the area, and it would essentially ruin the beautiful Shady Creek green space that borders the south side of Kirkwood. I do not trust the SG Collaborative spokespeople. I do not think they're being honest and upfront with us regarding their plans. I have studied their proposal, watched their videos, looked at all of the renderings, and I believe that the kind of oversized development that SG Collaborative is pushing would be a huge and irreversible mistake for our community, one we will live to regret if it is allowed to proceed. I would much prefer to see the area developed 1 or 2 buildings at a time, each by different owners and each with its individual character, congruous with the existing structures that line the village streets in Old Webster. Thank you for considering my opinion.
This comment was received August 8th from Amanda Burnt on Greeley. Dear fellow community members, while I'm excited about new development opportunities, I am horrified at the scope and size of the current proposal. As a lifelong resident and parent of now 5th generation Webster residents, this proposal does not fit in Webster Groves. The destruction of Deer Creek by walling it in with high concrete walls, just begging for graffiti, will displace not water, but the wildlife that coexists within our community. The townhomes and apartment buildings as proposed will not bridge the gap between Webster and North Webster, but be a further figurative and literal wall between each side of our community. The proposed apartments will be accessible only to wealthy families, which does not help grow and sustain our community. In addition, the great increase in traffic on both Rock Hill Road and Kirkham are unacceptable to those of us who use those routes daily. Pushing buildings up to the edge of the churchyard is reprehensible. We should be honoring the history of our community, not using eminent domain to crush it. Community is speaking. We need you to listen. This next comment was received on August 8th from Karen Soracco. There's an image that can be found in the copy that is given to the Plan Commission. This is what it will look like from Kirkham, and there go the trees. There goes the creek because it will look like the river de Pere with concrete sides. There goes the wildlife, and the habitats for the wildlife ruin it all. This whole project has created so much talk and negativity in the community. You should all become part of the Webster Groves Community Connects Facebook page. Then you can hear what the people you are representing have to say. We are a liberal democracy. We, the residents of Webster Groves, elected you to be our voice. Well, listen to what our voice has to say. We do not want this development. Webster Groves is a bedroom community. Webster is higher in property prices and property tax. We all know that. We all came here and we knew that. We didn't come here with the preconceived idea of, oh, I think I'll go to Webster and find some cheap apartment to live in. It's so cute. I'm sure I can find something cheap. No, we came here because of what it has to offer then and now. It has grown, new businesses have opened, new restaurants have opened. It is what we like and use. The old homes, the trees, the quaint old Webster and Old Orchard. If I wanted to live in a cheap community with concrete apartments, duplexes, tiny bungalow houses like Brentwood, Maplewood, Richmond Heights type area, then I would have looked there, but I didn't. Why? Because Webster was and is different. And I like it that way. And so does the majority of your community. I'm a single mom and I live here. I'm not rich, but I made it happen. So listen to us. You do not just make the decisions, we do through you. You are supposed to listen to us and represent us. You're not representing the government of Webster Groves. You represent us. Do not go forward with this. You will ruin Webster Groves. You can never go back to what we have here today. Instead, be determined to be unique, be determined to save Webster and keep its reputation for what it is: charming, quaint, quiet, safe, and small. Love it here, but won't if you go through with this. Want to hear your reply. The next one was received on August 8th from Robert Rivas. I'm opposed to the proposal to develop Douglas Hill in a manner which has been proposed. Our fire engines would need replacement because the proposed heights, traffic in the area, if the development drew customers, would be difficult. Does Webster really want to have big business and apartments?
The next comment was received on August 8th from Mark Paul Licky. After reviewing the plans and seeing the project model that is in City Hall, I am very concerned with what it will do to our town. I think the ecology of Shady Creek will suffer, if not through erosion, through destruction of habitat. Also, the look and feel of that stretch of Kirkham will gain a cold cookie cutter look that I feel will repel residents. The folks that look to this area of Webster Groves for residency do not want multi-story housing complexes and commercial concrete allies where they once had creeks, trees, a church, and small businesses. This project will help to erode Webster's charm and make me wonder why we are here. Next comment was received on August 9th from Janine Haley. I feel that the size and height of the proposed development is unsuitable for the area and is only in the best interest of the developer. Yes, there are areas that could be improved, but why not make it something that matches the feel of Webster and still has the ability to make money for the area? My concerns: Red Lamore has been a staple for years and does great work. Why would Webster want them to leave? The houses on Kirkham, which are taxpayers too, would really get the shaft with the obstruction of sun and increased traffic. My idea is to have a semi-permanent farmers market set up where people could come and sell their wares and crafts. It would also be a gathering place for families to hang out and browse with ample parking. I would be there every weekend and bring all my friends, hoping for a more inviting development.
This comment was received on August 9th from Christine Bean. I can't believe that Webster is even trying to do this. The tax-paying citizens of Webster do have brains, you know this, right? No one wants this plan to happen, but outsiders to our community. Frankly, I'm insulted by the lack of judgment shown. Webster should want to be about the citizens who own homes and pay taxes here. We are not a city, deal with it. Besides, we have plenty of apartments in Webster and duplexes. Also, Missouri is peppered with affordable houses. This whole idea is a huge stretch. Come up with something that works for our community, not others' agendas. This comment was received on August 9th from Susie Hazar. Dear Webster Planning, while I applaud the idea of a redevelopment of the Douglas Hill area of Webster, I believe the current proposal is just too massive. 7-story buildings are too large and will loom over the Kirkham residents on the downhill side. It will throw them into an urban setting where their view will be a solid mass of building, which will look taller than the downside hillside. Wouldn't it be better to rescale the project so that on that side so it blends with that neighborhood? I'm also concerned about the use of materials and construction to blend with the old character of the neighborhood. Some of the new construction in town has no dimension and looks as though it could be a tear down in a few years. While I understand the need for more affordable housing in town, I don't think it all needs to be crammed into one project, especially a project which sits close to the railroad tracks and whose density could cause dangerous traffic situations at those crossings. This next one was received on August 9th from Nancy and Keith Lieberman on Parsons. We love being part of the Webster Groves community. In July of last year, we moved into our newly built home on Parsons Avenue. Our residence height is 1.5 stories, well below the 2.5 stories or 35 foot max for Zone A residences. Our home must be what SG founder Larry Chapman diversively terms a McMansion. When I drive home from my Clayton office each Monday and Friday on westbound Kirkham, I relax and imagine myself driving on a country road, scanning the south side for deer, turkey, and now goats along the Shady Creek Preserve. That vista is gone under the SG plan, which significantly ignores the city's master plan in 3 major facets. Look at the SG proposal and its letter accompanying zoning application dated April 5, 2021. SG proposes a building height of 83 feet, 38 feet higher than any existing zone. It has a footnote saying Zone A and B have a height restriction of 2.5 stories or 35 feet. Zone C and D are increased to 3 stories or 45 feet. See section 53143 Code of Webster Groves 2018. It tries to disguise this by claiming that the first 2 stories are underground. They are not, and that from the Lockwood side, it would only appear to be 2 stories tall. It fails to state that from the Kirkham side, residents are rewarded with a 10-story concrete wall. If you can see to the south beyond that, you're rewarded with an additional 23 feet of building, proposal page 20. It has a footnote that says height shall mean the vertical distance measured from the base of the structure at ground level to its highest point, including the main structure and all attachments thereto. See section 53.020 Code of Webster Groves 2018. Next bullet point, SG letter states, for example, tree preservation. Even if we really wanted to save the trees, it does not. The earthwork we are going to do will more than likely put these trees in jeopardy, particularly because the trees are sickly already. The ordinance does not consider the relative health of the trees. This makes my head spin. We do not want to preserve the trees, but if we did, we would jeopardize them anyway for our project. Hey, even healthy trees blow over. Webster ordinance mandates a 50-foot setback from Shady Creek. SG states its entire project needs to have 0 setback, wiping out existing greenery and the creatures that reside there. I've been working from home Tuesday through Thursday during the pandemic, will not renew my office lease. I'm not alone. Businesses now realize they need office space as more work from home. The SG plan was formulated prior to the pandemic. SG's original rosy forecast of great interest in office space for its project and the living space needed for new business employees is no longer valid. SG has stated it will not significantly scale down the project. If the SG project is completed, businesses and living spaces will be underutilized and we'll be looking at a concrete skeleton on the streets and above, unable to return the streetscape to its friendly green character.
Next comment was received on August 9th from David Rabinow. I am opposed to the old Webster redevelopment project, the Douglas Hill project. No evaluation or allowance for the impact this project has on Kirkham Avenue west of Rock Hill has been made, and the project will already make a bad situation worse. There is virtually no traffic control west of Rock Hill on Kirkham Avenue, residential street. 2 years ago, over 70 people who live on or near this road signaled signed a petition alerting the police department and the council to the speeding, truck traffic, lack of stop signs or pedestrian crossings, and lack of police presence. Yes, the police put down a test strip for speeding and made a determination that speeding wasn't that bad. Sure, when you lay the test strip down on the sharpest curve in the road where people have to slow down, that is the result you can plan on. The old Webster redevelopment project, Douglas Hill, will only make living on our street worse than it already is. Since the council and police department have neglected this part of Webster up until now, I can only assume that this project will continue, that this neglect will continue post-project. Next comment was received on August 10th from Kristen Radican at 416 South Core. I support this development and think it will be a great addition to Webster Groves. I appreciate the developer's openness to listen to public feedback and their promise to provide affordable housing options with this project. I feel this would provide needed revitalization to the area and will be a benefit to our community. Next comment was received on August 20th from Andrew Behrens at 433 Sunningwell. I highly support this development as a Webster Groves resident, young professional, and urban planner. I have read the comments and feedback, and I wonder what the age range is. I highly encourage density in an area that is severely lacking tax base, population, and businesses. The current uses are not highest and best use and are near their end of economic life and will continue to deteriorate. Our nearby neighbors of Kirkwood and Clayton are improving their city with new developments, restaurants, residences, and new multifamily. Listen to the younger generation. We need more housing that is better suited and more rental options.
This comment was received on August 24th from Carol Truesdale, Glendale resident. This project will forever change the quiet residential fabric of this area and should not be built. Its buildings are way too tall and will loom over the existing homes. Truly, how would you like to wake up each morning to look at something like that out your window or while taking a walk? In addition, the developer anticipates 1,200 to 1,500 residents. Even going with the lower number, that is a lot of vehicles to add to 2-lane roads on each side. And when there is a train, the traffic on Rock Hill already backs up across Lockwood and across Kirkham. Just imagine the extreme gridlock nightmare that will result from all these extra vehicles. More importantly, the area's vibrant nature ecosystem, including many magnificent mature trees and a wide variety of wildlife, will be obliterated and will never be replaced with a few ornamental trees planted by the developer. But the saddest element will be the loss of the natural green quiet buffer between the North Webster residential area and the Webster Business District. Please do not build this development in North Webster. The next comment was received on August 30th from an email address with dogmom9382. As I am writing this, Kirkham has once again turned into a river. I have lived along Kirkham for more than 20 years, and despite the developer's claims against science and voices of those of us who actually live here, Shady Creek isn't a dry ditch. It's a powerful watershed that supports a vast diversity of species, from fish, crawdads, and salamanders to owls, deer, and foxes. This natural floodplain is already dangerously overdeveloped, and this proposal would only put the development's future residents and those already living here, particularly our historic Black community, in harm's way of dangerous floods. As I'm writing this, Old Community Baptist is inundated. We must protect those already living here, among numerous other reasons. My family and I completely oppose this proposal because it will make our neighbors and future generations less safe for the sake of profit. No matter what the developers claim, they can't make this watershed or this floodplain disappear. Climate science is clear. Our region is getting wetter, floods are becoming bigger and more frequent, and historic communities of color like North Webster's are most at risk. Our voices need to be heard. Our lives and livelihoods depend on it. Is the city council going to determine the entire proposal's impact on our neighborhood's flood risk before they rezone it for the developers? Would the city council support the idea of the people of Webster Groves voting in a referendum to approve or reject the proposal? Given how massively transformative and impactful this development is, especially for North Webster, the only way our city can ensure this is an equitable and inclusive process is for the people of Webster to have their voices heard through a public vote on the proposal itself in its entirety. Next comment was received on August 30th, 2021 from Barbara McRobbie, 8353 Big Bend. My alarm bells go off when a developer claims a project cannot be scaled down. Translation, they won't make as much profit as they want. Number one, the building's height and the footprint size and density are wildly inappropriate. Number two, the rental costs do not help Webster Grove's diversity and affordability. Only 10% is workforce housing, so 90% is the opposite. Number three, brick and mortar was already in decline before the pandemic. All of Webster Grove's commercial areas have empty storefronts. Yet SG's Larry Chapman chain claims the cause in Old Webster is lack of density within 1.3 miles, pure and simple. Pure and simple, how patronizing, self-serving, and inaccurate.
So that was the end of the recording. We did have two last ones that came in that right after we finished recording this morning.
Okay.
So I'm going to read these last two. This is from Jackie Shern, came in on August 31st, 2021. Hello, we are Jackie Shern and Robert. You're going to time it. Thank you. Jamala of 137 Sylvester Avenue. Today we walked along Shady Creek, which would be badly damaged by the Douglas Hill project. We wanted to see if the creek is, as Larry Chapman wrote, a stormwater drainage ditch filled with concrete, asphalt, and trash. Our walk along the creek from Gore to the Baptist church was the day after a big rain, and the water was a delightfully clear, babbling brook with minimal trash. There were leafy mature trees all around. There are problems. The steep hill leading down to the creek is eroded and the area is overrun with honeysuckle. These problems do not warrant paving the creek and removing the trees. In fact, doing these things would worsen the situation. We think that the Douglas Hill project should be scaled down to a much smaller project. We want to build some affordable apartment buildings. This is a great idea, but the building should only be 3 stories tall. The small number of new residents would decrease how many cars are added to the already busy streets in the area. If we limit the building to 3 stories, they will not tower over Kirkham Road and the neighborhood to the north. The model of the Douglas Hill project shows the area, which is now a steep multi-story hill, as flat, but it also shows Gore and Rock Hill Road level with the land on which the apartment buildings sit. Is the developer going to completely redo the topography of Gore and Rock Hill Road in that area? If not, as those streets approach the train tracks, they will be much higher than the land next to them. The city should decide about this project, not because we want to help Larry Chapman earn money over the many years it will take for him to construct this development. The city should decide based on what is best for the Webster Grove citizens. Thank you. And then the last one we've received, this is from Elizabeth James and received on August 31st, 2021. The area of the proposed development is in a floodplain, which was evidenced just yesterday by dramatic scenes of a river gushing down Kirkham. And this has occurred before, as recently as just 2 years ago. Missouri is expected to pass into law a ban on TIF funding use in floodplains, which we are apparently racing to work around. I've recently seen an article published in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch wherein Webster University professor emeritus and expert on urban creeks and rivers, Bill Chris, discusses his research on urban flash flooding. He is quoted as saying, in a region known for big floods on big rivers, a legacy of straightening out the natural bends of small creeks and lining their beds with concrete has collectively made flash floods more dangerous. Some projects that even the Army Corps of Engineers work to design can still create factors which increase those floods, concrete being one of them. The 50-foot stream buffer is there for a reason, one of which is that streams, even urban ones, are environmental workhorses. At the very, very least, I urge you to keep the stream buffer in place and seek outside counsel as to the risks for increased flooding, even if downstream of Webster Groves, due to development of this magnitude. And please consider instead developing only along Pacific where possible and as needed. The change could be more incremental and leave some of the more thriving properties intact. The repair of the woods and creek can be a separate effort, which I believe could be done through grants and active volunteer groups already working in our community. That is, if landlords are open to this. Webster has always done an excellent job of land and environmental stewardship, and I'd love to see that pushed for here. For the record, I support efforts to grow and improve Webster Groves and the efforts that I see to produce more mixed use, housing affordability, and options and city revenue. I just think that this particular land holds important local history, environmental significance, and has added potential risks for the city and residents due to the flooding. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay. Do we have anyone online that has joined or changed their mind?
So you do have someone who has put their hand up. It is someone that's comments were already read. I did make a note when he typed in asking to speak.
Okay. So we won't hear those. We won't accept those comments.
If you want to continue to try to uphold.
Yeah.
So comments can be submitted in writing if comments have already been read by someone. So Mr. Luders, if you want to submit additional comments in writing, we can add them to the ones that you've already submitted.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's see. Nope. I don't see any others. Just to note, all the comments that were read this evening are already up on the city's website in our document center. In addition, all the comments that were submitted by people who'd already had comments read are also in that same grouping. They're done in groups by date when they were received, and the PDFs are in our document center.
Okay. So we're not doing any discussion tonight. We have our next meeting already established, so we don't need to do anything. We need to vote to keep this open.
Neil, do you feel that we should?
No, we are still open because this has been a special meeting to make sure that there was public comment. So we would still keep it open till the next meeting, which is already scheduled. And at that point, we would, I believe, close the public meeting. Mara, is that right?
If the planning commission feels that they have everything, then they can close the public meeting at the next meeting, should they wish.
Right, right. So again, because we've made sort of a special niche for this one, we don't need to do that. Although it never hurts to put it on the record.
That's fine. And Christopher Michaels joined us. Thank you. Annie, Chuck, Michael, Christopher, any comments from you guys?
No, that was very helpful to hear all those comments. So no, I appreciated everyone taking the time and effort to submit and to write in and to come to the meeting tonight. So thank you.
No comments from me.
When is next meeting?
No comments from me.
My only comment was the question on how do you get more residents to know about. I mean, we advertise and everything you can advertise, as far as I know.
Yeah, we do go above and beyond the state regulations. So we do put it, we put it in the Webster Kirkwood Times. We put it on the city's website. We put signs around the property that were on every single piece of property that was under consideration. You know, we've done
What we can do.
as much as we can do.
Okay.
Yes, and I
just
know.
wanted to bring it up because.
Yes, and we've also encouraged people to continue to, on other means of social media, share meetings and information. We do have a Twitter account that is more active now that's promoting the meetings, as well as Facebook.
Okay. So I think we had a suggestion to actively continue the meeting.
So move to September 12th. Is that the date?
I'll second.
Number 13.
September 13th, I'm sorry.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to keep this hearing open until September 13th. All those in favor, we should just do a roll call with folks online. Let's just do that. Okay. Charlie?
Aye.
Annie?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes. Or I. Yes.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Christopher?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, that carries. We will continue this hearing on Monday, September 13th at 7.
No, we had moved it to 6 p.m. to
7 as
allow
well?
for
Okay.
additional time. So it is also at 6 p.m. like
Okay.
this evening.
Mayor, do you know if we're gonna have any other thing on the agenda then?
Oh, we have nothing else on the agenda for this evening. This was just a special meeting for.
No, I meant the 13th.
13th.
Oh,
Do you have anything on there?
no, we have nothing on the agenda for the 13th. Just this item.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item, adjournment.
We adjourn.
All right, thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks,
coming out
everyone.
tonight.
Thank you. Good night.